Ever feel like fun eludes you? Like you're so overloaded with tasks and the doing that you never quite get to the fun, or when it's time for it, you're too tired to even consider it? Yeah, you're not alone. This has been a lifelong pattern for me. And I definitely see it in most of the ADHD women I know and work with, especially we ADHD women who masked through overfunctioning and high achievement. If you're like, oh my gosh, Jen, this is me, this episode is for you. We're going to dive deep into this pattern and figure out how do we get out of it and start actually having some fun. Be sure to listen. Welcome to the Self Loved ADHD Woman's Way podcast. I'm your host, Jen Barnes. If you're an ADHD woman entrepreneur, ADHD adjacent, or ADHD ish, you've come to the right place. We'll dive deep into the unique challenges you face, from the inner turmoil to the outer obstacles. We'll blend neuroscience, IFS, and somatic healing and explore practical strategies to help you navigate the world of entrepreneurship with ADHD with greater ease and effectiveness. I'm glad you're here. Hey, it's Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Fun. Yeah, so I want to start this by saying ADHDers are some of the funnest people I know. And we can make almost anything fun. And at the same time, a lot of us have a hard time carving out time for fun. And this is a lifelong pattern of mine. Like, I feel like in some ways it was my mom's personal mission to make sure I didn't take myself too seriously and I actually made time for fun. But this pattern has shown up even more since her death about 6.5 years ago, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have anyone reminding me to have fun. Like, I'm in charge of that. And then with COVID, I think a lot of us were inside and really didn't go out and do much. And then coming out of that, I don't know about you all, but I kind of forgot to reconnect with fun. I mean, I'll do things here and there, but not really consistently. And so let's talk about it, because this is what a bummer. That, and when I lean in and get curious, I notice my own patterns and I notice some of my patterns in other people, but also other things going on. So, one of the things I notice in myself is that I get so busy in the doing, like, oh, I just got to do this. I just got to, push and get it done. That then I don't have energy for fun or time. I also notice coming home from work, I don't know if any of you do this when I have office days. When I get home, I'm like a tornado. And it used to drive people I've lived with crazy in the past because I come home and I'm like rushing around to do everything. But the reason I rush around, I'm not sure why you rush around, but I know the reason I do it is because I suspect there's a part of me that's concerned if I stop pushing and rushing, and once I sit down, it's game over. No more else is getting done. Not my lunch containers cleaned and put away, not my dinner made, none of it, whatever, not feeding the cats. I think I'd still get myself to feed the cats somehow. But for me, once I stop that tornado of movement, I know that when my bottom hits that couch, I'm done. And then what happens is, and you can tell me if this is you too in the comments, I reach for my phone. And sure, I have all kinds of things like, oh, I'm going to watch this YouTube video from Heather Cox Richardson, so I'm aware of what's going on and know what action I need to take. And yes, great, that's lovely. But an hour in, when I watch 5 other videos also, that really wasn't serving me. It wasn't helping me relax. It wasn't helping me rest. It certainly wasn't fun necessarily. And I find myself drained after doing it. Also, I recently did an online ADHD test. So now I'm officially diagnosed. So there you go. Apparently more severe than I thought. So that was interesting. But they said, yeah, ADHD, and you should probably do something about your phone addiction. I was like, what? So I don't know, y'alls, but I'm thinking I'm definitely not alone in this because I hear so many ADHD women numbing out with our phones. And whether we are numbing out to avoid tasks or numbing out at the end of the day, this is this is what we end up doing. But then we end up drained and more tired and not getting the rest we need. So we're just always depleting ourselves further and further. So then when it comes time to have fun or go see a friend, we're like, oh, it's too much work. Right? If we have plans, it just feels like too much work or we don't have the bandwidth for it. Whereas some like to say we don't have the spoons for it. And that's not great because we get to enjoy life too. And I think where some of this comes from, my observation of my own self, but also people I work with and other people I know with ADHD, is we have internalized a lot of society's messages around, well, first of all, what is expected of women in a patriarchal capitalist society. So there's that, which is a pretty hefty list of expectations. But then also how we are expected to function, even with an ADHD brain in a neurotypical society. And if we don't, it was clear to us what would happen because either we received criticism, negative commentary, correction, or complaint, or something like that for how our ADHD did show up, or we watched people receive that negative commentary when their ADHD was unmasked or showed up. And so we learned to overfunction and people please and be perfectionists as a way to avoid trouble, to avoid being hurt by people's words. But in doing so, we created this like inner critic, but more than that, this inner like, I don't know if I want to say dictator. That feels like a scary word right now, but almost this inner dictator that's like, you must do the stuff. You can't rest until you do the stuff. There's no fun until the work is done. And we have that in our head. Like we don't deserve rest unless we've been productive enough, which is really ridiculous because we're not machines. We're humans and we're here to experience all of what life is. And life isn't just about what we produce, and our value, our worth isn't only about what we produce. And yet, we keep ourselves from some of the biggest joys of life, which is doing leisurely activities to have fun, which connecting with others to have fun, to fill our own cups. This reminds me of Brene Brown when she was, well, I think she still does it when she writes her books, but she talked about when she was writing some of her first books, she would get her husband and kids out of the house and make them go stay, I don't know, like a hotel or something back then, because I don't know if Airbnb was really a thing when she was first writing. But she'd have them go stay somewhere so she could be at home and focus on her writing. And what would happen is she'd sit there and the entire weekend, she'd have a 3-day Law and Order marathon. And her husband, I remember her talking about this the first time. Her husband came home and was like, how'd it go? And I don't remember exactly what she said to him, but what I do remember is that she didn't get any of her writing done. And either she felt shame or there was some shaming or some worry about shaming. I don't remember what it was until she had the realization that this is just her process, that she's got to have these Law and Order marathons of just, which is for her fun, but also maybe some letting her brain just not have to function at such a high capacity to be able to do the things to write the book. And so it is with fun. Julia Cameron, in her book, The Artist's Way, talks about this in a similar way. The Artist's Way, if you're not familiar with it, is a book to help stuck creatives, essentially. And it's really cool. It starts out with morning pages, which is something you hear me talk about a lot. I call it brain dump writing because for ADHD, it's just getting all the stuff out of your brain and can help us be able to focus better on the things we want to focus on versus the moving around thoughts in our heads. But after morning pages, the next step in her process is taking yourself on artist dates once a week. which is like doing something fun to consume art or creative works, right? So doing something fun, that is part of the process of reigniting creativity. That is part of the process of productivity. And she knows it. That's why she talks about it. What I will tell you as an ADHD success coach and in my other business, a therapist, is when we don't have enough fun, first of all, we can get depressed, but also our nervous system can be dysregulated. We can find ourselves in our fight or flight response, that like pushing on edge, driven like a motor, and our shutdown response. We're vacillating between the two, right? So that's a dysregulated state. And we are going to be largely ineffective when we are in those states, because in those states, our main priority is survival. But going days, weeks, months, years without really doing anything to fill our cup, without doing anything fun, without laughing, is going to make it harder for us to be productive. That time actually gives our brain the break it needs so that our ideas can, not fester, but bubble up from the background while we're focused on joy and our body's more in flow because we're having a good time. And to be clear, I'm not talking about like having a good time doesn't mean it has to be spending money. A lot of us right now, I know the economy's tight for many. There are lots and lots of things you can do that are fun for free. And in fact, we're going to talk about that a little more later. But my point is having fun is actually going to make you more productive, not less. I mean, obviously it's a balance, right? If you're like, well, Jen tells me to have fun, I'm blowing off work today and tomorrow too, and the next day and the day after that. Then for sure, you're not, you're maybe not going to get as much done. But how often do we procrastinate by doing stuff that is neither fun nor restful, but just like scrolling on our phones? Right here, guilty. And instead, if we took the time to have fun, to do things that bring us joy, then we would have more energy and excitement towards the things we need to do, or have the ability to create that motivation through interest, developing, creating interest in things to be able to do the things we need to do. So we've been doing it backwards. We've been getting everything done before we can have fun. But we over functioning high achiever ADHD types, I think I know this for me. I think you probably know this for you. We're not going to do the fun until all the stuff is done. But then our lives kind of suck. So, how can we get out of this pattern? How can we do something different? Because this just isn't effective. It's not effective for our productivity, but it's also not great to have a joyful, meaningful life. Well, so before we get into that, I want to name that some of this work might be working with the inner messages that are stuck inside. And that's something I talk a lot about. Actually, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I do have a journal book experience that I created this last year and is now up for sale. It actually is a book, physical, tangible book that has journal prompts. It talks about nervous system regulation, helps you be able to regulate your nervous system to get stuff done. The first part, or after you understand what's in the book, like there's a little roadmap. And then after that, it says why you won't do this book and how to make sure you do. That walks you through how to get yourself to do stuff. And then there's like nervous system regulation, other stuff, and journal prompts throughout to start to work through some of these inner messages. So it comes in a branded keepsake box, along with other beautiful items to help with that ADHD self-love ritual I created for you. So it's really cool. You can check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. But basically, doing some of this inner work is important. Acknowledging the parts of you that are like, no fun to get it done. and being with that and be like, wow, what are you worried would happen if we had fun before we got it done? and just leaning in with curiosity and seeing if you can start to work with that and loosen up some of those beliefs so that you can go do things that are fun and actually enjoy yourself while you're there instead of feeling guilty that you have all these unfinished projects either in your work or in your home. Then we need to learn how to stop saying yes to everything. And I know why we do this. We do this for a couple reasons. Number one, because of what I was calling time blindness, but I heard someone mention how ableist that sounds. So instead, because we do nonlinear time, is another way to look at it, right? We see things as now, not now. So we're not great at estimating how long things will take. We tend to say yes more because we just don't think things are going to take that long. And if we're honest, and I'm going to be, is we tend to say yes to people as a subconscious way to people please because then they like us, they see that we're hardworking, so they're not going to ever be like, oh, they've got ADHD and they're lazy or whatever other negative commentary can come. And they might give us a little bit more grace when our ADHD does show up. So a lot of us end up saying yes to way more stuff than we could ever do in a lifetime. And then we get into this cycle of pushing, pushing, pushing. Oh my gosh, I have to do just a little bit more before I can run. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. So then we're so tired by the time we keep doing just a little bit more that, like I said before, we don't have time for the fun or we don't have energy for the fun. So some of this is going to be about learning how to say, you know what, let me see what's on my plate before I agree to that and I'll get back to you. And then you can go and see what else you've got going on and really think about all the pieces involved in what's being asked of you and see how long it would actually take and then double it because probably our brains are still wrong. So before you agree to it, because then you're honoring yourself more and recognizing that saying yes to this person, that doesn't mean you're going to take the fun off your plate. You get to have the fun too. So if saying yes to someone means no fun, then finding ways to say, oh, you know what? That's not something I have space for right now. There's lots of ways to say no kindly or decline something without being a jerk about it or even using the word no necessarily. So part of being able to create this space for the fun is learning how to do some of these things. Okay. Then we need to schedule the fun. And I know it sounds not fun to schedule fun, like whatever happened to spontaneity. And I'm not saying spontaneity isn't important, but if you're in this cycle of pushing, pushing, and pushing, and kind of crashing and pushing and pushing and crashing, then you're probably not spontaneously having fun because you're too tired. If this is you, to get in fun, you're probably going to have to put it on your calendar. And for me, to really actually follow through with the fun and not schedule over it, I have to put it in my calendar and protect it like a why is the word dragon coming into my mind? Protect it like a fierce dragon. Or actually pay for the ticket or reserve the spot or the ticket. So that way I'm hooked in and I will actually go do the thing. So that whether that's tomorrow night, I'm going to the Cloud Cult is at the Minnesota Zoo, and they're one of my favorite bands. So I'm super excited to see them. And I paid for that ticket as soon as they came out because I knew if I didn't do it, I wouldn't end up going or buying Twins baseball tickets at the beginning of the season, even though the game isn't till August. Those kind of things, really getting in time scheduled on your calendar so that you will make sure you have fun. And sure, those are paid events, but there's even free things you can do. And again, making sure that's on your calendar. And if you need to reserve a spot, reserve it in advance. So that way you feel more obligated to that piece of fun you've committed to having. Getting another person involved also is helpful because now, first of all, you're going to have fun with another person, but also they're depending on you to join them to have the fun together. So all kinds of stuff. And again, you can find things that are interesting to you. I'm not suggesting you do things that are supposed to be fun for others, but that you think are kind of a drag. Like, I know everyone's really into pickleball right now, and I don't know, I don't want anything thrown at me, so I'm not going to say that I don't like pickleball. I've never played, But I watch some people play pickleball. I'm like, that looks super stressful to me and not at all fun. I'm sure it's fun for people who love it. So for me, I'm not going to schedule a beginner pickleball class because that isn't going to be fun. So really understanding what's going to light you up, what's going to bring you joy, what's going to refill your cup so that you're having fun for the purpose of having fun, but then also it's going to give energy versus deplete it. Okay. So that was a lot in a little bit of time. I feel like I was a fire hose. So I hope you took everything in. And I want to leave you with this thought. We're never going to get everything done till we die. It's kind of a morbid way to say it. I remember feeling relief whenever I left a job because I would always be caught up because no matter what I got done or didn't get done, I had a last day of employment and then you start a new job and you have nothing on your plate yet. And it's fantastic. And I wonder if that's why so many of us ADHDers only stay in jobs for a few years. I don't know if it just piles up so much. And we're like, "Oh, I'm never going to get out from this." I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true, but we're never going to get everything done. We're never going to be at a place on a regular basis where we're like, okay, there's nothing on my to-do list. I can go have fun now. So that we just have to have fun anyway and schedule it and make it a priority. Because guess what? That's part of why we're here. We're not here to suffer. We're not here to only work. We are here to enjoy this experience of being human for all that it is. And some of it is getting to have fun. All right. Thanks for being here. If you're not following or subscribed to this podcast yet, I would love if you would do that. And you know what? If you're watching this on YouTube, I'd love if you'd like this. And I'd especially love it if you know someone with ADHD. I would appreciate it so much if you would share this with them or even just anyone who's not having enough fun so that I can help as many people as possible and keep helping you because then that will help me keep my business going. So, all right. Thanks for being here. Take care.